Hi everyone, Eric at Retro Handheld Guides, and today I'm going to be looking at Nintendo 64 emulation on the Powkiddy V10. The Powkiddy V10 contains the same chip that we've seen in a number of budget handhelds in the recent past, including the R36S, which I've already showcased on this channel. Similar to my PSP gameplay testing for this device, the challenge here is finding N64 games that can be played entirely with just the D-pad or the analog stick, but not both. While testing, I discovered that while the standalone N64 emulators are available on the device, they are impossible to use effectively without a joystick present, and there is no way to remap the input. This means that while the standalone N64 emulators generally have better performance, we are instead limited to just the RetroArch cores. However, the RetroArch cores also provide us with the ability to map the C buttons to the A, B, X, Y base buttons with a toggle trigger. So with that, let's take a look at some N64 emulation on the Powkiddy V10. So before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about the setup that I have here on my Powkiddy V10. The first important thing to note is that I've updated ArcOS on this device to the most recent version available as of the time of this filming. And that was done using an Ethernet dongle because it does not currently have an official build for ArcOS for this device. So this is an Ethernet dongle here. I got this for pretty cheap on Amazon. It's basically just a USB-A port with an Ethernet cable plug-in at the back there, and then I connected it with a USB-A to USB-C, and then from there you simply plug it into the top of the device, plug in your Ethernet cable, and then do your update as you normally would through ArcOS, which is just done in the tools. So after that process is complete, you have a updated version of ArcOS, which allows us to take advantage of some of the improvements to the emulators that have been done since then. So that's one way to update your Powkiddy V10 to the latest version of ArcOS for this device. So the second thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the setup. In terms of the controls that were on this device, I did have to remap some of the controls to be something more to my liking. So once we go into an N64 game, the first thing to do is to access RetroArch is to press this minus button, I guess you can call it, and then X at the same time, and that brings up our RetroArch menu. So from there, the first thing we want to do is just go into Controls, and from Controls, we want to remap Port 1 controls. So my remapped Port 1 controls, I mapped my D-pad, which is this one here, to my control stick, which is the analog stick, as most of the games are going to be using that as opposed to the D-pad for input. So we do have our input here. Up is minus Y, down is plus Y, left is minus X, and right is plus X. You also want to make sure that you've mapped these B, A, Y, X buttons here to your A and B, and you'll notice that in brackets you see that there is a C down, C right, C left, and C up. And the reason for that is because I don't have a second analog joystick, which is generally mapped to use as a C buttons on many of those devices. We can instead use a function down here called C button mode. So you can see here I've mapped my R2 button to C button mode. That means if I hold down my R2 trigger on the back and press one of these face buttons at the same time, it acts as a C button on the N64 joystick, and then if I let it go, then they just act as your A and B button, with these two being nothing. So that's my setup here for my controls on N64. You will need to remap these as they weren't well mapped when I updated ArcOS and started doing N64 testing. Once you have your mapping done, just make sure you manage your remap files and then save your content directory remap for that. Otherwise, for the most part, anything that I've done to change the graphics plugin would be done here under your core options. Through core options, you'll just want to go down here to your GFX plugin and then adjust this. Rice is the default, but you can change it to your others that I mentioned in the top left-hand corner for the various games that I'm testing. When you've selected your graphics plugin, just make sure you go back up to the top to your Manage Core Options, and then save your game options generally, as these are going to be different on a per-game basis. Once you have that in place, you can go ahead and go back to Resume, and there you are now in your N64 playing your games on the Powkiddy V10. So let's take a look at some of the different games that I've tested for the Powkiddy V10 for N64 emulation.